Okay, good morning. It is February what is it, 4th or 5th? It is the 3rd. Actually, how did it get away from me? Probably because we got our checks early. Anyways, the importance of community engagement and how to read an IEP and what is educational law and what is the difference between education law and education policy is what I want to talk about. And, as you can see on this screen here, because I'm recording this, so when we play it back, you'll be able to see it. There are three options of education control: state monopoly over educational socialization to ensure that all children get a good education and an equal education opportunity; abolish compulsory education standards. Standardized families should be able to make a decision. Compulsory, but choice. Piercing compromise. Parents' choice may be unfair to the child. Government wants to educate the citizenry, whatever. I used to talk with a lisp, and I'm getting this issue right here. Getting older. Anyways, this there's a PDF online that really talks about the way the schools are and the lawsuits that have already been brought to bear in regards to education policy and law. And you can get this PDF online. It's just, education policy and the law, and you search for it. It's a 34-page document. I can actually share a link once I record this and upload it. I can share the link to this PDF. But we Americans have settled for far too less when we don't have the ability to understand what's going on around us. I mean, the public school system is failing massively some children. And we can understand that we don't have to litigate slavery anymore. But it seems to me that's where we're going in America. We're litigating the initial offer of a free and appropriate public education. Is it free or is it appropriate? I think the question would be, and my question would be, where are all of the partners or the players in the game? It's not about perceptions anymore. People could have perceived that they had a certain level of entitlement at one time when slavery was real, because it was against the law. In America, they had laws that prohibited reading and educating African Americans, blacks, slaves, whatever they want to call us is what they chose to do. Truly, it was, let's get real. It wasn't that long ago. This is the year 2020. And I graduated in 1976 from John F. Kennedy High School. And at that time, when I first started attending there, it was like 71, 72, 74, 75, I don't know. I don't recall. But I know that 4 years in high school, so take it back, graduated 76, so went there in 72 or something like that. But the real deal is that, honestly, there were white parents out there protesting because they didn't want the children coming from across the railroad tracks. And at that time, the tracks was basically a poverty line. And the newer houses were over there where the brand new school was, and Kennedy was a newer school then. And so we have to understand what we've allowed to happen as citizens, because we all pay taxes, especially Black famous entertainers that are really driving that income. You know what I'm saying? Driving the economy with their entertainment. Let's not pretend that Kansas City Chiefs didn't win, and how many people of color and how many people were spending that money around that entertainment factory. When Kaepernick actually came out and said, hey, you want me to play ball and entertain you while you're killing children who look like me on the street for willful defiance from people who get a position of power with a gun and a badge with an 8th grade, high school equivalency level. Let's get real. It's beyond my comprehension, and I don't know why I'm fuzzing in and out on this video. Might be the lighting, can add extra light here. But the real deal is, what are we doing? We the people. Because my issue in our community is that we are really not participating in the oversight, process for, education of our children. And look, here's this, a Supreme Court ruling, Wisconsin versus Yoder in 1972. And it was about Amish children. But you know what? Really doesn't really matter, because if you have an issue, they want you to go to court and adjudicate. Adjudicate what? Adjudicate the right to have a free and appropriate public education, and what that actually looks like, and how they actually measure the maintenance of effort that they put into public education and what they're doing. We can look and understand right now that, they're trying to put so many dollars into school choice. But if we're not choosing and we're staying where we are in failing situations, and that's what I don't understand. How a parent can actually, see the child has a letter grade of F and not do anything about it. What can you do? There are so many things you can do. But then there are things that we're afraid of as a people. We believe that there's something wrong with special education. And the real deal is that the laws were created to ensure that their children with disabilities had access to basic services, and that they could engage in society and actually participate. And here we are acting like it's some kind of label. And guess what? It is a label, and only a label, if you don't demand accountability. What is that she's talking about? Demanding accountability. Meaning that the letter grade of F just doesn't fly. But, if you accept the low expectations, just because they say special education is something for disabled or whatever, children who learn differently, that's what it is. But if you just accept the low expectations as if that child cannot learn, that's an issue for you to deal with, especially when you can read and comprehend the laws that are written to ensure that the maintenance of effort happen, and that you have a right as a parent to have an IEP meeting every 2 to 3 weeks. If you wanted to, simply if your child is not benefiting, then you need to share the concern with the staff. And guess what? They have to meet with you. But they don't have to do anything if you're not asking or requesting or participating or reading or comprehending or understanding that everything, all of the instructions are online. The instructions don't come with you when you have a baby. You just have the baby. And, some people feel that some people shouldn't be having babies, but yet and still, every life counts. So the Right to Lifers are out there saying, every life is counting. But is your life counting when they can take it so easily? Because they fear you. Because you may be smarter than them. They don't want you to get away. Or they just don't know. They really don't know where you're coming from, and they really don't know how you think. I feel a lot of people want to know how I think, simply because there's a lot of interest, because I guess I'm 61 and I can get online and I can live stream. I can share my opinion. I feel that I'm intelligent, and I feel that I've actually lived some life. That's what I feel. I feel that life is challenging for all of our people, especially being Black, because, they don't have a way to treat you. They figure out how to basically take advantage of you, because they know that, guess what? The only way that you're going to get some advocacy is if you know the rules and you can force them to abide by the rules. And if you don't know the rules, then hell, you don't get nothing. And I mean absolutely nothing, because there are children in public schools that can go to school for 12 years or more and actually still fail. I'm going to go online for a second and show you something. I got to go to the CDE. That's probably the best place I really want to go. I have to go. I have all these bookmarks open. Surely shouldn't have them open. CDE dot, it's the dot, CA dot GOV. You see that? California Department of Education. So you go there. And then once you go there, you want to look at data, statistics. You see that? And I'll move this little box down to this corner because I want you to see what I'm going to click on. So in this data statistics, they have the CBEDS information, the data quest, they want to, you can actually, go and look at how many students, are eligible for free and reduced lunch meals. And you can actually see how many kids are and what they're doing. We're going to go to Data Quest. And so see that big thing up there? It says Data Quest. Okay, great. We are doing good things right now because Data Quest will allow you to look at any school. And I'm going to look at California because California is the most organized and California is actually doing the work. But the people who look like me need to ensure that the work is being done and the maintenance of effort is happening for, the people who look like you. Because quite frankly, if you're not concerned, neither are they. So we're going to look at what level? I think we want to look at a district level because that's where I participated, at the district level. And what do we want to see? Look at all the things you can look at. We want to look at, they've changed this a little bit because, they don't have the high school exit exam. They don't have, they may still have some proficiency assessments for, whatever. And then they have the STAR results. But, those are old. Those are old. So I know because that's basically, I think that's the last you're going to get is 2013. And so you type SACRA and then see Surge. And then see North Sacramento Elementary. No, Sacramento City Unified School District. That's where we're going to look at. So look, they have initials. Really, what kind of test you want to look at. So let's look at this test. I don't know. CTS summary. Okay. And what school? Let's look at Luther Burbank because that's a high school. And what student groups? Okay. All students. Subgroups. Oh, it says it's just going to show me. Let's just view the report. Let's see what it does. I said, view the report. Oh my goodness. So let's look. Proficient or advanced is only 27% of the students then from 2nd to 12th grade. In history, 27%. That's such a low number, isn't it? What can I say? They used to have other assessments you could actually, look at. So let's get out of the STAR because, they went to this other assessment tool that they're all using now, which is kind of whatever it is. I have to go back all the way out because it's not letting me go back, but just go right back in there and go back into Data Quest. And then we want to look at still the district level. And then we can look at, what do we want to look at? There's all kinds of things. The data dashboard. That would be good. Is it going to let me go? Didn't seem like it like that. District and California data. And then submit it. Okay. There we go. This is the new data dashboard. And I believe they're trying to use this data dashboard in Nevada also. It's just, what can you say about it? Can't say anything about it if you don't know. So let's see. We can look at accountability. And then it says current year. Okay. Got some resources. I don't know. We have to get in here. State summary. We can look at suspension. It says, okay, what is that? Generate a PDF. Oh, you can get your own PDF. 2019, generate the PDF. What is it going to look? English. Oh, in English. What is it going to look like? It's processing something. Don't know what it'll look like, but hey, to each his own. Because guess what? If you have one of the children who are not making any progress, if you have one of the children who were promoted without making educational progress that you could measure, and then they actually dropped out, you're not concerned with this data because it really doesn't represent you. And I think the issue is that we have far too many people who are, who represent. Look, look at that. Doesn't that look so cute? I don't even know if you can see, but it's not that many kids. We're not supporting that many children. Goodness, they're in the yellow range for a suspension. That doesn't tell you anything. I really don't like that report, but what can I say? It's what they're using. Not what I would want to see as a parent, because I don't feel it tells you any information. Truly. You have to come out of here and see what else they have. How else they have the data. Go back to CDU. I don't want to do this report thing. I don't want to do the California School Card. CDE.ca.gov. That's what we're doing. Back here, they put this Tony Thurmond over, the public school system in California. Was amazing. And I see they're getting ready to have some kind of conference. But really, if families and parents don't go, or if they can't go, then it really is not going to make a difference. I don't know. I'll have to wait over here. Let's go back. Let's see what this one. Event. All right, there it is, y'all. This is called Innovating Equity Summit. You know where the innovation of equity comes from? It comes from that we all are going to be here as American citizens and how our needs will be met. So if you have to have a conference on that because a certain subgroup is not accessing, access to the general curriculum that's being taught across the nation, and then you have to ask yourself, well, what's happening with that population of people? Because, the workshop that I actually attended was in Nevada, and it actually had to do with perceptions. And I want to play a little bit of that. It's going to play because, I don't have, I can share my screen, and I don't know how to get online and do that, but hey, maybe I will be able to do when I get to the part that I want to get to. Scrolling down, because that's how it's saved. It's saved by me recording it, and then when I recorded it, it's still online. So that's not it. It's coming. That's not it either. I should have seen if I could save it. No, that's not the beginning though. I'm going to start with the beginning. Just 31 seconds of it. This is it.
You know I would thank him? We never met before.
Let's see if I can turn it up.
But I was walking, had my headphones on. In fact, I was jamming. Getting ready. And he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "What's up, kid?" I said, "What's up?" He said, "What's up? I just want to know. You learned? You taking it all in?" I almost cried. Keep saying it. Because we're running around talking about character for young people, character for adults is the same thing. Who are you when nobody's watching? I saw who you are when nobody was looking. There was no cameras on us. I didn't have a microphone. You stopped and you said, "Are you good?" You let me know that I wasn't invisible. Listen, I know White Town is taking great care of you, but I'm from Virginia, Hampton University. For those of you who don't know what an HBCU is, it's an Ivy League. Challenge when it comes to human interactions.
So that was Dr. Adolph Brown, and he is a professor, and he was a keynote speaker at a conference, and the conference was, I don't know, can you see that? I don't know if you can see it. How do I have to do this for you to see it? Probably. It was an annual conference, but I'll just read it. Las Vegas, My Brother's Keeper, the Alliance, from the annual conference. So every year, I guess, they've been having a conference. And they actually had a proclamation from, Barack Obama. You can go to my Facebook page and watch it. It's crooked. I couldn't figure out how to flip it. I'm going to have to get a different kind of folder for my phone so when I record that I don't have to shake. My hands are not strong because I had that surgery so long ago. But, so that we can, it won't be sideways anyways. That was the video. But he really talked about the whole day from the part that I caught, because that morning I couldn't come when the superintendent was there. But he talked about perception, and he was on stage, and he had a wig on, and he had a long shirt on, and he was talking intelligently, but looking like most young Black children, thuggish. And how they see us really is real. I mean, they fear us, and almost they should, by the trauma that was inflicted and continues to be inflicted. I mean, the mere fact that so many African Americans don't have access to basic services once they have committed their lives to 12 years of public education, which didn't produce anything. And people who work in the education field, I have to ask, if you don't want to accept any accountability, anything for what children have to actually endure, because it's just a collection of what they didn't have or what they didn't come from, their family had or lacked. That's what it's a collection of. I'm gonna play a little bit more of this.
Challenging. And yeah, I might be a dean, a professor. I didn't want to do this kind of stuff. I love research. But to stay humble, I ask myself one question every time I have an exchange with someone that doesn't go the way I think it should go. I ask myself, what might I be wrong about? What might I be wrong about? You see, self-reflection and self-correction are two of the most humbling things that we can do as human beings. Ladies and gentlemen, education didn't save my life. People don't really understand it when I say that. But education didn't save my life. Yeah, I'm educated. Lots of degrees. As my grandfather would say, smart and nice. Education didn't save my life. In fact, I didn't need saving. Did you hear that? I didn't need a great savior. What I needed was to be understood. That's it. I needed to be understood. So education didn't do it for me. Educators did it for me. Give it up for educators! That's why I'm here today. Denise Park. Mom and dad were born when I was 2. I didn't see my dad again until I was 18. One income couldn't afford 2 households. We moved to the inner city projects overnight.
Okay, I'm going to stop that for right now. But, what he was talking about, how education didn't save his life. I mean, how education did save his life. I mean, but really, the reality of us as a people who know without a skill, our children cannot be successful. And then to understand where we as a people have left those who didn't have access or who had little or no access, because the churches are just not doing the engagement that they used to do in the community. It's not that anymore. And so we don't have a lot of people who are actually, we have few, we have pockets. And when I said we have pockets, we have silos. We have few community organizations or few people who have been um, basically living under the instruction of making life better and creating opportunities for so few, but not enough. The reality is that we have to do more. I'm going to pause this video for right now and then work on putting some things together that I really want to talk about. And so, as to not have a long pause here, I'm going to pause it and then I'll be right back. My nose. Okay. Let's see. So many. Well, look, it's like this. Maybe a new website. Right there. Hello? No. No, I don't. I'm not. Yeah. Thank you. You too. Bye bye. What's that saying? Alright, new design. New way to build modern pieces. Try Queen's version of what they New York is easy. Turn back and do so. I don't know. What, Eric? Okay. Oh, goodness. That's gonna be going on. It's going to be Oh, wow. So it is live, and I just really can't see what it's saying. But anyways, I was going to talk about the IDEA website for special education, and what do we really know about, special ed and well, I have to record up and pause, resume. There we go. What do we really know about special education and what, as a people? Because with California having, or Sacramento City Unified School District having a disproportionate number of children in special education for the last 5 or more years, and then for the community not to advocate or come around that issue, there was a CAC. I did participate on the CAC, and that was the organization within the district that actually, talked about issues, and the district did meet with parents and families of people whose children had disabilities. They met with them, and some of the concerns were taken you know, into how do you say that? They listened and ensured that some of our concerns were heard. For the most part, because we encouraged an outside agency to come in and do an assessment of special education services in the district, and they were found to be willfully, just not supportive of any children. And only way you got support is that actually had to understand that you were entitled to it, and then you could, if you can access the web, you know what I'm saying? And then you can go online and then you can talk about what special education is, and then understand that there are laws and regulations and all about special education. And it talks about the discretionary grants, it talks about the money that they give to the states, but it also talks about, a disability being a natural part of the human experience. And so in no way it diminishes the right of the individual to have access to participate in this or contribute to society. So, what are we talking about when we're talking about children who may have disabilities and how we see them? Maybe we see them as not having a right to have an entitlement to benefit. And that's why we accept failure so much in the African American community, as if we have a problem. But we have no problem. Simply all children learn differently. And what do I mean by that? Means that, some kids are, visual learners, some kids are verbal learners, some kids actually have to feel or, write to memorize. There are all kinds of ways and tricks that people learn to empower themselves over time. or learn to research and study over time, that they become proficient. But what are we doing when we're allowing children to go to school for 12 years and every day be reminded that they're not measuring up? Because now we have young Black children who are committing suicide when they really, I don't ever believe, really engaged in the educational process, but they can engage in taking on this bullying, this unlawful, negative bullying, because there's nobody advocating for them. And the advocacy doesn't come from their parents if their parents don't understand. Their parents are so caught up in their personal lives. But the children are still required to go to school. So, and then sometimes when children are in school and they see a lot of negative behavior coming from the family, well, they go and repeat that stuff in the public. And you have to know, whatever you do in your house, if it's not acceptable in society, don't do it in front of your children. That's just real. We have children who are, watching their parents do whatever. And guess what? They're out there trying to do what their parents are doing. This is wrong. Even if you don't go to church and you don't have a grandma, or you don't have someone that can redirect your behavior, know that your children are representing you. So whatever they're doing in the public is truly something that they're doing. And it's just real. I don't know. I thought I was live on Facebook. It said my Facebook ended. I don't know how to do that one. I'll have to, if I don't stay on the page, I guess it's not going to let me. But, hey, it is what it is. I'll keep on doing what I was doing before. It's not friendly, because I guess if you can get around, they want to tell you how to get around. And I don't need anybody to tell me how to get around. I can get around on my own, pretty much. But, back to the necessity of being engaged in the public process. We all have a real need to be there. And that's where we're not. And so, why I wanted to come online and start to have this conversation, even if I don't generate a lot, if I can generate one person to understand that this is what we must do as a people, this is where we must go as a people. And, I thought this was kind of cool too. This dude, I'm going to have to because he...
What is called the thug life. But it wasn't until recently did I create an acronym for it, because I understand now truly what a thug was. A thug is a traumatized human unable to grieve. A person who wears trauma like it's a badge of honor. And then we wonder why we're so quick to lose it at the slightest offense. When you walk around with your threshold for tolerance here, as soon as anything happens, you're going to snap. It doesn't mean that you're real. It just means that you haven't allowed your heart to purge all the pain that you feel. So my brothers, crying like a man is deeper than shedding physical tears. It's about releasing the trauma and emotional pain held in our hearts and minds for years. Although trauma is something that we all will experience, we have to stop acting like trauma is just a part of the Black experience.
Yeah, that was awesome. So, anyways, little drops of knowledge. I don't care how you get it, but, we can no longer allow, there was just some recent lobbying going on in court in California about dreadlocks, and here we are again. Here we are again with the U.S. court. You understand why Trump was putting so many judges in place? That kind of, boggles my mind, because, I have to ask, the laws are in the books and they're written by Congress. The laws are on the books and they're written by Congress. And they're written by the House of Representatives. And they're approved by the Senate. And they're implemented, supposedly, by the president. But now we have someone who wants to implement his own thing because he knows best. And he's doing some good things for some Black people who got caught up and who were punished unfairly in the first place. So, he helped some Black people get out of jail, got them to the White House and said, look what I'm doing for your Black people. But I don't know if your circumstances have really changed, not when more and more money is going into contracts and services, unless you're one of the lucky ones who get a contract. There's no more competition for state, local, and county jobs because of the fairness in the hiring practices with those organizations that help sustain public policy and public services. Of course, if we give contracts, then we can just totally ignore the rules and regulations in regards to equity and access. And, it's really tough to see that people have accepted the failed services of public education for a subgroup of people because of what? Because of the history in America, because of the oppression in America, because Blacks were oppressed and formerly slaves, that somehow they just don't have to see it. They just can agree to it. I mean, the disproportionality is rampant in America of the number of children who are going to jail. I'm going to go back to CDU's website because, this is going to be interesting. When is it going to be? February 10th, 2020. I don't know. Let's see. You might be, if you are a parent who represents the district in any committee, you can ask the district to pay for this request and pay or help pay for your attendance at this because they get to do that with that money because they have a responsibility to educate the public. So, something you want to attend, I suggest you go. That's what I suggest. It seems like, they're doing it under the Every Child Succeed Act. It would be like that little workshop that I went to here that had to do with, my brother's keeper and the alliance. The alliances and the community partners that are working in and trying to mentor one student at a time. Everybody reach one, teach one. It's not a negative thing. Opportunities are real. And if you can save one, it's worth it. But the foundation should be there. It's something that we should not be confused about. Let's see, Nevada. Let's see. In the Nevada, I don't want to say public boards, and I want to say, yeah, why not? Here we go. Hey, Darlene. It's Michael. Okay, with Bernie, I don't know about that. All right, so this is where I really don't want to be. I really want to be in the Department of Education, but see if you get somewhere you should be able to go by just clicking here. It's what I'm waiting for it to load. Okay. But welcome to Nevada. You can say public meetings. Oh, live stream. Oh, I don't even know if they have a stream going on right now with this funding one because I wasn't paying attention. There we go. It's just been happening. I have to wait for it. See if it's actually happening. It'll be interesting. Okay, meetings. Streams. Oh, they're offline. So you have to know when the meetings are. And if, but that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you don't get there, you don't have time to go. If you know when the meetings are, then you can attend or you could watch them online because this is about the Senate bill 543 and it talks about the funding and how they do the weighted formula. And so, let's see, what do they have here? They have one on the 21st of February and monitoring the monitoring workbook. I have to get that one. It's on the 21st. Then they have this one on the 21st, of course, the 20th. Keep going down. We don't have anything until February 20th and the 21st. Let's see, what else is going on? That's the funding one, the school one. Then keep going and go to the Board of Education and see if what they're doing. Let's see their stream, their meeting schedule. That's what we should look at. So they had one on the 30th. Let's see. January 30th when they had one. And they had some attachments. And they had an agenda. Let's see what they had. It's going to take a minute. So this is what they covered on the 30th. And you see how you can go back and you don't really have to go anywhere. But you do need to be an educated individual. You do need to spend some time educating yourself, because in your days of life that you have been granted to me, it needs to be meaningful. And if you're working towards an activity that you're making a difference to someone, then keep doing that. But if you're not, then on that additional time, you need to use it to educate yourself so that you'll be aware of what's happening around you. Because believe me, this not being aware of what's happening around you helps to heighten this perception about communities' failures, about the Black community's failures, about their public situation, their public responsibility. It's very difficult to even get in with the pastors here. The pastors meet every second whatever day, and I start going to some of their meetings. And it's a lot to have to pick up when you're doing something in your life, to go and meet with people who understand that there's an issue, but have no plan to change anything unless they're getting a break. Well, you don't get a break in life, and you don't have things coming your way if you're not willing to put some work in it. And we're talking about sweat equity. And I didn't see them they didn't want to read. Come on now. Reading is fundamental. You can't memorize the Bible. I mean, even if you could, the stories in life in the Bible refer to life lessons learned through trials and tribulations. And you don't face those trials unless you're actually willing to just put some sweat equity in there. And I didn't see any of that. And I kind of faded out, stopped going to those meetings, just like, NAACP. Plan on paying for my life membership so I don't get lost in the fray. You know what I'm saying? Lost in the allegations of not attending or participating on the education committee because people don't certainly want to recognize you for whoever you are, whatever. But your recognition is not from people. Everybody has a certain level of a personal responsibility to step their game up. Level up. Because that's what we have to do as Black people. Nipsey Hussle, he had what's that song? I have to think about what the song was so that I can repeat some of the lyrics, but you can't play it online. So, but what you can do is, repeat the lyrics, and it doesn't have to have the music. And that's just real. So, he had that mix about heaven or hell. And he starts talking about his life. And then he's talking about how he was living. And he's saying you can go to heaven or you can go to hell. Or niggas go to college or they go to jail. They get into heaven or they get into hell. Says nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to fail. Nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to talk about the things we do just to make it through. That was such an impactful song on me, simply because, we are living in a day and time where we have not taken the opportunity to step our game up, to be in, the oversight position. No, they don't get to choose when we speak up about our concerns about failed public services, but we have a dual responsibility to ensure that we're having conversations across the diaspora or across the universe to ensure that we are connecting our people and talking about what's really happening. You know, a child can learn, or a child can be identified as having a whole problem. And the conflict between humans is just, you know, it can become out of control, because every day when that child will come to class, if he has some behaviors that's getting on the adult's nerve, instead of changing it, they just say, I don't want to deal with that right now. And they really can't, because you can't have a child that's out of control in your classroom when you have more than 5 or more than 10 or 30. Come on now, what do we expect as a people? I don't know what we expect, but we're not doing what we should be doing, because simply we have an opportunity here to have a dialogue about how our children are showing up and if they are abused. And we can talk about the kind of services that we would like to see that would help to transition that behavior, so an acceptance of personal responsibility is gained. We're not gaining any personal responsibility here when we have people who just don't want to deal with it, and they've chosen not to deal with it, regardless of how they get paid, regardless if there's funding that's set aside to ensure that access happens. We're not dealing with those issues because zero tolerance has been established. And willful defiance is a reality. And special education without any maintenance of effort, come on now. Why does the federal government set aside additional dollars for the maintenance of effort to ensure that everyone is engaged in the process, and then you, over your head, worry about your child having a title and ignore the fact that the child's not making any progress at all? It just behooves the hell out of me. Dumbfounded. I don't understand the acceptance of the letter grade of F, and I don't understand the acceptance of a limited amount of time or shortening the time, the level of the time frame spent in the education system, when if you don't get enough hours, then you don't get a high school diploma. They have all kinds of tricks around the issue of your personal responsibility to ensure that you're in the control, you're in the seat. And if you're in the control seat, then guess what? You do have a personal responsibility to step up your game. Anyways, this agenda is for, January 30th, when they went to, the Board of Education. And you have to realize that these legislators, they are not educators. They can read the federal legislation and then suggest a way in which Nevada can meet those basic standards. But Nevada still has a responsibility to ensure that all children have basic level access to public education. And that is not demonstrated, that maintenance of the effort is not demonstrated when they're not even reporting the academic growth and development of youth. That's something they're not talking about. What they're talking about is the behavior issues. I created this. So, when I decided to look at this issue and try to address it, then I put together a folder online, of course, and I called it the support for the complaint that I filed. And I put a whole lot of this information in here, everything I found, about the Nevada Department of Education, or how they actually, were talking about services for children or all children, and then how they were told to, change some of the behaviors. Because, if you look at this one, that's 2017. This is the revised one. Maybe this is the newest one. But no, that if you read and you're a reader, and that you can read and you can comprehend what's going on around you, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of real. And so here's the template that was filed in 2017. It's about, it's still the same Elementary, Secondary Act, Education Act. Every child seeks. It's what Obama put together to really target all children, creating access. All right, so if we look at I go right down to the end, because, that was where the recommendations are going to be. But listen, disproportionate rates of educators describe the low-income or minority children enrolled in Title I schools that are not served disproportionately by ineffective out of held, inexperienced teachers. Come on now. They're just talking about what's happening and how they need to change it. And then they're not changing it because they don't have a way to change what they're doing here. They really don't, because they are not doing the work. And you see, and guess what? Nobody is holding them accountable. And my concern is coming in here really when I'm saying, I don't hear that anymore, it's in my ear. My concern is really when we understand that they're putting more money of the Title I dollars into one pot, and that creates more flexibility at the bottom, but there's no oversight. See, listen, Section 427 requires each applicant of the funds to include application descriptions of steps that they propose to take to ensure equitable access to participation. And that's with children with special needs too. So if they have to do it with kids with disabilities, don't you think that they would have to do it with Black children and make a difference? But see, the whole problem is they're not doing it. And the real issue is that we ain't talking about it. And you can talk about the creation of wealth, and you can talk about what you've learned, and you can talk about life because you put it in a book, and you can share that little knowledge, and maybe somebody else can understand that if you have a product that you can make money. You know what I'm saying? If you have something, you can make money. It's just like, the philosophy when you see the Mexican guys come over here from, and they're either outside of Loaves and Fishes or outside of Home Depot waiting to get some work, or they got a stand and they got, a couple of those 50-pound bags of oranges, and they're putting them in little bags and selling $5 each. But they got a product. But we, Black people, we are giving our children, and that's the product, over to the public school system. And they are not doing anything with it. They're basically watching the harvest and reaping it after 12 years of no investment. And we didn't say anything. And we didn't do anything. And that concerns me. Are we so dead on the inside that we do not accept the personal responsibility to give back? There's this huge COVID effect that's happening right now for many in the community. And then there is, Kansas City Chiefs, they won that game. And it was all about the game, or it's all about COVID. It's all about the entertainment, or it's all about the effect of the entertainment. But I can't say that Kobe was Dick Gregory, or Kobe did the work in the community like Maya Angelou, or, come on now. We can say there have been people around, John Hendrick Clark. We can talk about James Baldwin or Jimmy Baldwin when I didn't even know about Jimmy Baldwin and the tenacity of him being himself until recently when I got this gray hair. And so, we are who we're looking for. Michael Jackson says, it's about the man in the mirror. It is you. And if you choose not to step up in this 2020 election, in this election where we all can choose when the newspapers and the airwaves are not leading the narrative, and we can choose who we follow, or we can choose who we pay attention to. And then we accept what? Nothing. We still accept that they are killing our children, our talented, gifted, Black young individuals who are outspoken and who do not know how to accommodate, the oppression or the willful issues of compliance, because we know that slavery was real, real, we still need to be frightened because not enough of us stand up. We have military retirees across this nation who are educated, who are more involved in lusty things than looking out their front door and wondering why. And then just assuming that because someone's out there with little or no skill that they made that by choice. No. Know that the harvest has been in effect our whole entire lives. And know that willful defiance is erroneous because every child can transition given the correct support tools to transition to the next step. Or do you just feel that all you have to do is just put a little X on the box and say the child didn't really and wasn't willing and refuse, and it makes it okay so you can go on your summer cruise, your summer vacation, your summer holiday, your Christmas vacation? You know how important it is to spend the time with your child for the 3 months of the summer and the benefit that we give in this nation as being a public employee for public school system to have their summers off. It's a benefit. And then do you understand the power of professional development when you could get the best education in the world and it be paid for by the taxpayer or reimbursed by the taxpayer? How empowering is that? And then you choose who you don't want to work with. You choose how you will utilize that entitlement. And you get to choose because you're the one that's providing the service. So the expectation is not that you work as a team to develop a safety net to ensure that no children follow through. It's not about America, it's about you. I'm finding that no matter who I try to have the conversation with, it's just about them. It's not about anyone else. It's just about them. And I'll be damned if I don't know. I don't know. There are rules, there are laws. We're all expected to follow the laws. What is this? This is a paper, this is estimated burden statement for the EPA requirements. So this is just about lowering the paper, so we don't have to do it all in paper. But guess what? That's the end of it. Is that it? There's no more. Because of the Paperwork Reduction Act, there's no more. But it just talks about there are laws, assistance to counselors, policies remove the barriers. You know what I'm saying? How are they going to demonstrate that the state educational agency and the local educational agency in the state has developed or shall review the policies and remove the barriers to identifications of the homeless and youth enrolled in the retention of homeless, whatever. Come on now. They have 15,000 homeless youth on the streets in Nevada every night. Not some nights, but every night. I don't know. This is what I feel that we need to have conversation, and I'm going to stop now because I'm not exactly sure of the minutes that I've been talking. But it's going to take time to upload it over to the Zoom online to the cloud. And then I will be able to upload it on Facebook and share it because that's where I have a lot of people. And then also, I'm going to put it first on my YouTube channel. Follow me on YouTube or follow me on Facebook. It's Darlene Anderson. But I'll sign off for now. And I'll be back in a little bit. That's if my mom, she likes to play those country Western things. And if they're not too loud, I can hear them. Many right here. Stop the video.